It's time. Yeah, regular season begins for your San Antonio Spurs taking on Dallas on the road.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, or should I say happy Spurs Day. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. As always, we are glad to have you back. And I know you guys are excited for today. Yeah, I wonder why, huh? Yeah, could it be because the Spurs regular season begins tonight on the road in Dallas? Yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be previewing tonight's game. We're going to look back at how the Spurs did in preseason action, look ahead tonight's game. Who do we pick outside of Victor? That's the game. And Victor's always the easy answer, right? But outside of Victor, who should the Spurs look to pick up the slack, considering there'll be no Fox and no Sohan? More on that later. And then we're going to look at Dallas. How did they do in the preseason? Who stood out for them? And then talk about the latest Spurs news regarding Jeremy Sohan. Yeah, no contract extension. More of that in just a bit. As always, subscribe to Locked On Spurs or get your favorite podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube. You know what to do. And that is always go subscribe to Locked On Spurs ASAP. All right, I think I got everything set. I think we're ready to go. I hope so. The Spurs are ready to go because I am still trying to get everything all organized here. All right. Let's talk about tonight's game. Yeah, opening night on the road in Dallas, I-35 rivalry. It's Cooper Flag, number 1 pick versus the number 2 pick, Dylan Harper. Should be a fun night. Let's go and break it down. All right, let's go to bring in our guest. It may not be Mondays with Matt, but y'all know why it was not Mondays with Matt. We had a big announcement. It is, I guess, Wednesdays with Matt. Doesn't have the same ring, but we'll go back to it ASAP, though. He is Matt Guzman with Spurs on Sports Illustrated. Former X at Matt G, ZMAN. Yeah. You understood why there was no Monday with Matt, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm very happy for Casey. Super excited to watch him and his segments after the games. But yeah, no, all good. No worries.
Yeah. For those of y'all did not hear, Locked On Spurs got bigger. Just to clarify, because I got a lot of texts, man. People thought that I was given the boot.
I thought
what's going on? Well, yeah, I think Casey kind of worded it oddly, but luckily, but thankfully to him, he did clarify, with a follow-up post. But for those of y'all did not hear, Locked On Spurs is getting bigger and better. Locked On Spurs, this show you're watching right now is the main show. It is the big cheese. It's the big boss, all right? And then under Locked On Spurs will be post-game shows with Casey. Y'all know him. And former Spur NBA champion Devin Brown. And then all 3 of us will get together twice a week for a Spurs roundtable. So, yeah, that's what's going on. No, sorry, everybody. Hate to break the news to you. I wasn't given the boot. So, oh, no, not that. But nevertheless, let's talk about what is going on today, Matt. That is Spurs at Dallas. Game 1, regular season begins. Let's look at how the Spurs did. Well, actually, no, let's do some housekeeping. All right, let's do that first. Let's look at the housekeeping. All right, so your injury report is Spurs, y'all know, is Fox out hamstring, Sohan out wrist, and Lindy Waters out eye. So those 3 guys will not be in uniform. And for the Mavericks, I think y'all will know already, Kyrie Irving out with a knee injury. Who knows when he'll come back? Hopefully, he does come back because that guy, he's a pretty good player. The Mavericks are favored tonight, according to BetMGM, by a -3. So they're expecting a very close game. And that is your quick housekeeping report. I'm a little rusty with these game previews, man. It's been a while. But let's go and dive into it. Let's look at the Spurs. All right. So heading into tonight's game, they go from a undefeated preseason back to a clean slate at 0-0. There's a lot to take from the preseason play. What stands out for me is this team looks like it's ready to be on a different level. They look like they're ready to take the next step. From Keldon to Victor to Devin to Castle, they seem primed and ready to kill the playoff drought, and enter the postseason. But another thing that stands out for me outside of just the vibe is just on the floor, they look like they're humming. They look like offensively they can score. I mean, think about it. Once they go to 100%, that's Fox, Wemby. You all know who the usual suspects are. But defensively, I think that's where they're going to shine. They have a lot of good defenders, or great defenders. I think this is going to be a balanced team based on what we saw in the preseason action. And if they need scoring, they don't have to turn to your usual suspects like Victor or Fox or Castle and pick a player. They can go even deeper if David Jones Garcia stays on the roster. We saw what he did in the preseason versus Utah, just lit them up. I'm expecting a lot from this Spurs team based on preseason. And look, Matt and I know it's preseason. They're not at full power, either side. But nevertheless, Matt, I like what's going on with the Spurs team based on preseason action. What did you take away?
Absolutely. And I think that's a very fair assessment. And I think what makes it a little bit different than maybe years past or maybe other teams preseason is that, they were trying to get Victor reacclimated to playing NBA basketball. So the result was, you didn't see only 12 minutes from, you saw 22, 23, 24 minutes from Victor Wembanyama and Devin Vassell and Stephon Castle. Even Dylan Harper, who's on the screen, looked really strong as a rookie. He looked like he was ready to kind of plug into that system and be an option for Victor and be a facilitator. And so I think when you take that into account, obviously, right, the teams they faced were not at full strength, or, there's always going to be a level of, okay, maybe we don't have to try as hard, or maybe this can slip by. But when you kind of look at the big picture, what the Spurs were able to do in the preseason, the fact that they looked cohesive enough to put together 5 wins in a row, you like to think that there is some momentum there and that some of these guys who got runtime for the first time in a while, are going to use this to their advantage. And I think that that's definitely going to show, tonight when they face the Mavs, they're going to look cohesive and a little bit more polished.
Yeah, exactly. And the Spurs, they look pretty strong in preseason action. I'm going to pull up some of the numbers here, see how they did statistically. See, we get them up here. Here we go. You look at just scoring. You start off the offensive side. In preseason action, they had 6 players scoring in double figures. That's really good to know. Also, 3-point percentage. Again, still a shaky issue for me, but nevertheless, what stood out for me is Julian Champagnie shot 63% from 3-line. Now, obviously, that's going to cool off a lot in the regular season, playing against real defense, not preseason defense. So, but nevertheless, at least we know the Spurs could have a sniper on roster and may not have to look for one. And beyond that, though, what stood out for me on the negative side is free throw. Free throw percentage was very low, around 76, 77%. Not good. That is the difference between a win and a loss this upcoming season. And especially this first month where the schedule is quote unquote easy, winnable games. They can't afford to drop these early winnable games. Other stuff, the 2 turnovers, Victor had nearly 5 a game. I get it. The ball's in his end the most. He tries to facilitate, but I like to see that cut down a lot starting tonight in Dallas. What else stood out for you statistically, Matt?
I think one of the bigger players that I was excited to watch and who ended up doing really well was Luke Kornet. I think there was a lot of talk about how big adding, big people next to Victor was going to be, how important it was going to be to add front court depth. And I think Luke Kornet stepped up to the bill, and he really he delivered exactly what they were expecting him to do. He looked great in the pick and roll with Dylan Harper. He looked good on the boards. He looked like he could finish a play, just because he's tall and big doesn't mean he's going to be lanky and clunky like we see some of these 7-footers in the NBA. He looked very, very he looked like he could be plugged into the system and work right away.
Right.
And I think that was the hope. And I think Victor's really, really excited about that. So I'm going to be looking forward to watching him and seeing what that looks like come regular season, because I have a sneaky suspicion that he might be one of the better pickups of the offseason around the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to update the picture, though. I think I got to put him in a Spurs uniform ASAP.
You got to put him in the 7.
I got to put him in the 7. Yeah, exactly. Look at that. Yeah, everybody, it'll probably be next year where I have an updated photo with him. Nevertheless, what's interesting, though, is that Luke Kornet, look at some of the stats. Let me take off his Celtics picture there. 5 games, played all 5 games in the preseason, 18 minutes per game, 12.6 points per game, 79% field goal shooting. And as far as rebound concerned, I got it right here, nearly 7 a game with about a block a game as well. So minimal turnovers too, just 1.4. So interesting. Yeah, Luke Kornet seemingly is such a great find for this Spurs team. All right, so we all know what the Spurs did in preseason because we all watched them. But what about the Mavericks? Yeah, let's take a look at the Mavericks side coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing for a touchdown. You're in the game. You'll love how quick it is. You can make your lineups in under a minute. They added stacks, so if you want to ride with a player, you can select their pass yards, rush yards, touchdowns all in one lineup. Follow other players in the app, copy their lineups with one click. New injury reboot feature. If your player leaves early and doesn't return, it won't count against you. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA. Get yourself $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards that you can use when you pay rent through Built. You earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around the entire neighborhood. You'll love that with Built, your rent can finally work for you. You're earning points every month on something you already have. Whether you're grabbing food at your favorite restaurant or heading to the gym, you'll earn rewards ASAP. Built has made every life feel more rewarding, from your neighborhood to your travel plans. And when you turn to rent, you want to look to Built. Turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure you use that link so they know that we sent you. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Matt Guzman with Spurs on Sports Illustrated. Follow him on X at MattGZ, man. We're looking at tonight's game, Spurs Mavericks, game one of your San Antonio Spurs season tonight on the road. They'll be at home this Sunday, so just gonna wait a few more days, and then you get to cheer them on if you're in San Antonio, live and up close. We're looking at the Mavericks side of the side here of tonight's matchup here, and I'm gonna pull up some of the stats here. And right off the bat, what stands out for me is, my goodness, Cooper Flag might be the real deal. He really stood out for Dallas in preseason action. He averaged, I'm going to get it right here, 4 games, 21 minutes per game, 11.3 points per game. He shot 40% from the field, and he averaged 5 rebounds, 3 assists per game, and about 1.3 steals. Not bad for a rookie. Anthony Davis, 15 points per game. He averaged about 52% shooting and 6.5 rebounds. You know what, Matt, when I look at the Mavericks, I see this is still a team that, despite the whole Luka thing, nevertheless, on paper, they seem to still be a team that you can't sleep on.
Absolutely. And, one of those things with the Anthony Davis trade was a lot of people were underselling what they were getting back for Luka. Obviously, Davis is no Luka Doncic, but, when he's on, he's one of those players. He's always been funny to me to watch because he's either on or he's off. And when he's on, he's one of the scariest players in the league. And so you pair that with Cooper Flag, who also has size to him and obviously did really well in preseason. It was pretty apparent even from Summer League when I got to see him for the first time. Like, he had the makings of a really, really, really talented forward. Somebody who can do point guard and forward at the same time. He's going to be a good addition for that squad. Who, like you said, I mean, they're not down in the dumps. They're not just giving up and raising the white flag because they got rid of Luka Doncic. They feel like they have a team worthy of contention in the Western Conference. I think this is probably set to be the most equal matchup between these two teams to begin the year that it's been in a few seasons. But I mean, they definitely are looking like a strong team, and Cooper Flag is going to be essential to that as well.
Exactly. And they definitely have the pieces around them to build around Cooper. Anthony Davis, a big one. Kyrie Irving, if and when he does come back. PJ Washington as another strong player. Najee Marshall. They got veteran presence with Klay Thompson, Max Christie. Derek Lively is another guy that seems to be a thorn on the Spurs side when they play. And don't forget, D'Angelo Russell is a new Maverick. He came in to help fill the void due to Kyrie being out. He averaged 6 points per game and shot about 31% from the field in 3 games for Dallas, 18 minutes per game. So, again, on paper, this is a team that you cannot sleep on despite no Luka. Cooper will be the focal point for the Spurs defensively. You can definitely see them key on him. It's also going to be exciting to see Harper versus Cooper. Now, obviously, they don't play the same position, but nevertheless, it'll be great to see those two guys. And I think it's going to up the value tonight, up the excitement, seeing number 1 and number 2 pick go at each other. What do you think?
For sure. And I think that's the league is very keen on
that they are
using any of that, any of their chances they can to market higher, they will.
Yeah. It will look. First of all, the Spurs are, I think tonight. Excuse me. It's a late game too. It starts like 8:30 Central, right? So that's telling right there.
They wanted it to be the prime time, the 6:30 on the West.
Well, yeah, it's going to be an exciting game. I cannot wait for it to start. Dallas Spurs. Interesting footnote, or historically, we'll see if it continues in this new generation of Spurs Mavericks ball. But I believe, Matt, I don't have the exact year separation. The point is what it reveals. I believe in something like out of the last 14 seasons, every time the Mavericks and Spurs plays, and this includes during the Tim Duncan era, the championship era, the Kawhi, DeMar, all that time period, these games between Dallas Mavericks are usually separated by single digits every time. Every time these games go to the wire, and Vegas calls it. They're seeing it another close game, Dallas by 3. Ultimately, Matt, Spurs get the W or no?
I think they do. I think they finally break through. I think even Victor's first, rookie year, I was going to say freshman year, even his rookie year, it was really close. It came down to a turnover late game within a minute to play. I think this is the year that they look the most polished they have, even without De'Aaron Fox. Like you mentioned, David Jones-Garcia can go in and fill, a third point guard spot if they need one. But I think Castle and Harper have looked great as point guards next to Victor. And I think that this team is about to, I think they want to go out and make a statement. 5-0 in the preseason does not matter, to them at all, but it does kind of serve. Like I mentioned this in a piece I did recently. It kind of serves as a barometer, it tells them how they're doing and what the forecast is. And it's looking a lot more positive than it has in the past. And I think that they're going to take that momentum, if anything, from the preseason and kind of continue rolling.
Yeah, I think the Spurs do get it now. I do believe it will be a close game, but ultimately I think the Spurs are a little deeper than Dallas. And I think that depth is really going to help San Antonio tonight. I got a close game too. I think Spurs by 5, actually. So I think it'd be a fun, entertaining game. Crowd will definitely not be on the Spurs side, but I think this team can weather the storm. And Victor looks like he is in beast mode right now. He's ready to prove that he is a generational talent. He is Matt Guzman with Spurs on Sports Illustrated. Follow him on X at MattGZMAN. Follow me on X at Jeff G Spurs. And we'll get back. Some Sohan news coming up next.
Let's be real, making excuses won't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting doctor-prescribed treatment for ED designed to help you stop making excuses for and start making moves. If prescribed, your treatment ships directly straight to your doctor. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. The process is fast, simple, private. It's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. Rougiette makes it to get started. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know that we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses, start making moves.
That they're going to take things day by day, and that's just the most cookie cutter answer that he could have given. I think the writing was on the wall that they weren't keen on, they weren't going to be in any rush to get this done. Just because he's not extended right now doesn't mean they don't want to bring him back. He can still go through restricted free agency, and we'll see what they come up with then. But no, I'm not overly surprised that a deal wasn't rushed to get done before the season.
Yeah, me neither. I think this was not a surprise to me. I feel that the Spurs and just the NBA, the world that they're in right now, the whole apron thing, and that really scares general managers when they're assembling a roster. Does not mean the Spurs cannot re-sign him in the offseason. He's a restricted free agent, everybody, and they have first dibs to match offers. But the market will tell, and I think, hey, I'm okay with it too, because I think it'll spark a fire under Jeremy. I think he's in the contract season. I think he'll show out, not just to play for a deal in San Antonio or any other team that might have him on their radar. But the Spurs do have a glut right now. They have a glut in those swing guys-ish, bigs. They have, he's kind of a tweener. Is he a big? Is he not a big? Is he a 4? Is he a 5? Is he a 3? We just don't know. Definitely not a 1. We know that. He ain't a 1. He ain't a point guard. So scratch that off your list. But yeah, I'm excited. I think we'll see what the Spurs do. Not excited to possibly see him leave, but excited to see if this is a sign of changes, that they feel that maybe they're better off bringing in a sharpshooter or bringing in a bigger forward for Victor and whatnot. But yeah, I think some Spurs fans, especially Sohan fans, were kind of like besides themselves, saying, what? Because historically, Spurs used to take care of their own. And from Keldon to Devin to recently Castle Wemby, but then again, those were obvious. It was a little stunning, but not surprising if you're a Spurs fan. He is Matt Guzman with Spurs on Sports Illustrated. Follow him on X at MattGZMN. Matt, we appreciate you as always. Thank you for joining us here on Locked On Spurs, getting ready for the season. I know Matt's excited, and I know you're all excited. Matt, thank you once again. We appreciate it. Everybody else, subscribe to Locked On Spurs, or you get your favorite podcast. iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow I think tomorrow is going to be our Project Marvel update, so definitely look forward to that. It is a hot topic right now. I know the regular season started, but this is kind of big news in San Antonio right now, everybody. So we're going to have a special guest on discussing that and more. But yes, we will be back to Spurs basketball after that. Don't forget, tomorrow night after the game, tonight after the game, pardon me. Thinking about tomorrow's show, man, that's why. But after the game tonight, don't forget, Casey and Devin Brown will be recapping the Spurs game versus Dallas. There's kind of short recaps, but nevertheless, look forward to that. It is their debut, and then I think all three of us should be on Locked On Spurs Roundtable coming up soon. And don't forget, go to visit Matt's X at MattGZMN for all his latest articles. So for Matt Guzman, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.